And like I would hope he would think about it and this would be in his mind, but I wouldn't actually know what another person is feeling at this time. You just can think that this person knows and thinking about it and stuff like that. I really want to know how that is. So my mom did tell me she went in there and filed a fraternity test, and it just basically I can say it was a whole lot of running around with that case. It was a whole lot of things that wasn't, what can I say? Wasn't we didn't have enough information to push the case. That's what I basically can say. We didn't have enough information to keep the case going. So it was a big case to me because I really wanted to find out who my father was, and for the case not to go how I was planning it, I really thought it was going to go different than what it was. But I really feel like it should have been over with because I feel like if it was anybody else, like I'm not saying this because people got higher standards or people make more money than that, but it's just different because if it was anybody else that made a low income, I feel like they would have had them in there way faster than people that's wealthy. I really try not to get frustrated, basically. I really try not to think about it, I go on with my life because anything could happen, but I still gotta live for myself at the end of the day. I still gotta work and bring in income for me. I can't sit around. I gotta get up off my feet and do something. I can't wait on the world. Like I can't say, I can't wait on anybody to want to respond when they want to. It is important that I know who my biological father is, just because my mom health. I don't know if it's coming from our family or it's coming from the other side, and that would be something I really would want to find out because in the future you don't know what could happen. And a lot of people are so quick to judge because they see somebody coming out and try to find out if the person that, trying to find out things, they so negative to push you down. Like, people are just so quick to judge a person that's a low, I wouldn't say low income, but somebody that doesn't have it, and somebody that does, they always think, you coming after that person's money, or they never look at the full story and things like that. It was rough, living in Philadelphia. It was a hard city. Like, it started to get wilder as the years went on. Like,
Have you ever been in a situation where you were almost killed?
I have been. I wouldn't say the crossfire was for me, but I have. It was people. Like it was a couple shootings that I have been around, but it wasn't for me. Like it wasn't intended for me or nothing like that. It's just
I'd like to think he's aware of the situation and has given it some thought, but honestly, I can't say for sure what someone else might be feeling. My mom once told me she pursued a paternity test, but the whole process was chaotic. There wasn't enough information to move the case forward, and that made things really tough. Finding out who my father is has...
I mean, she just went back home and her life was never the same
I
again.
know that was had to be wild for her. I know
Yeah.
that
So
had to
my,
be
my
an experience that your mother shouldn't even have to go through. I understand it happened, but I know that had to be something that just like you said, our head exploded, shot. It's just, I believe it's just so. I believe that no child should have to go through this. No person should have to go through this. If we have, all the tools we need to find out the truth, why is the government hiding this from us? Why they can't do it for us?
so my question for you is, on your journey as you're getting older,
Yes,
where was your head at when you started to think about these things?
I would say I was lost. I was lost, but as I said, I got a strong support system. So it's like I lost it for a minute, not like kind of going crazy or anything, but I just had a lot of questions to ask myself, and I got kids, so I want to be the best father I can be for my kids, and I always want to be supportive to them, and I hate lying to them. So it's like at certain things when your kids ask, it's only you only can tell them the truth to an extent because you don't even know. So it's like this was bigger for me than any person. And my mom, with her not being here, it just fueled me to go harder. You know, I know there's something she would want it and something she fought for. So it's like I'm fighting for it too. It's nothing wrong with trying to find out the truth. So it just made me, lose it for a second, but I gained back and just worked and got around family, and we did a little camping. You know, I love going camping, fishing with my son. Um, just got back to a good space. That's it.
Okay, so how old were you then when you were told the story of how your mom met Jay-Z?
I was, I would say, officially, probably I would say like a 10 or 11. She told me when I was like 6 who my father was, but when she fully started telling me stories, I guess when I could better understand as I got older, it was really like 10 or 11. Then that's when she started telling me like, Rod, this is your person, you know, this is your dad, and showing me little pictures that she did have of him, and little clips and little videos that she had. And far as like I'm talking about,
Always been a big deal to me. I truly thought the case would go differently, but it didn't. It felt unfair, like things would have moved faster if the roles were reversed, if the person in question wasn't wealthy. For someone with less money or influence, this would have been resolved quickly. Even though it's frustrating, I try not to dwell on it. Life goes on and I have to keep moving forward. I can't sit and wait for answers or expect the world.
like little music videos he had, I guess back out back in the days, and little clips, I guess, from shows, whatever. It's just this was little. I was so young, I didn't fully understand, you know. But I watched them and I listened to my mom, and I just continued with life because you know, I'm a kid. Like you want to hear these things, but you don't want to hear these things. So it's like I listen, but I kind of try to block it out. I try like blocked it out a little bit.
And did you reach a point over the years where you wanted to reach out and say hi?
Yes, as I got older, you know, I thought that it would be a good idea to, you know, try to have a relationship, or at least I could say I tried on my part. I did reach out. My mom signed a letter. You know, it was, you know, they seemed cooperative at the beginning, but then it just start going to the left, I guess. You know, nobody was communicating no more, and it just was all court action.
And what was the story that was told to you as to how your mom had met Jay-Z?
Well, basically, my mom was at a show and she was with a friend. And y'all know, I guess her and her friend stayed to after the show. He was doing little signings and little autographs and stuff like that. I guess he wasn't too big, but you know, I guess females, when the show's over, you can sign little autographs and stuff like that. Talk to the people who perform. She said she went up there and with her and her friend, and they start talking. I guess wound up leaving with them. He took them to some apartment building, and you know, they did what they did in there. You know, talked a little bit, had a good time, party, and I guess had sex. You know, I can't fully talk as my mom because I'm not my mom. I'm just telling you guys what she told me. It was this, and I honestly just believe her. You know, it's just no doubt in my mind that I believe her. My mom wouldn't just make something up like that, and it's been no challenge to say that my mom was telling no type of fraud, no type of lie. Nobody ever said anything to me. All right, well, I don't know your mom. You know, I don't know who your mom is. This is a lie. Never got anything. So why wouldn't I believe my mom? Like, you know, we could have been settled this, and it only takes a conversation and some words. You know, I'm not a hateful guy. I don't hate anyone. I'm not after nobody. I'm not trying to see no one downfall. But this is just you know, some things that just went through court, and they just expected me to just sit there and just take what they were saying. I can't do that.
World to solve things on its own. At the end of the day, I have to take care of myself, keep working, and earn a living. Still, knowing who my biological father is feels important. It's not just about identity, it's about health, too. My mom's health issues raise questions about what could be inherited from her side or my father's side. That's something I need to understand for my future. What makes it even harder is the judgment from others.
So Jay-Z's attorney has outlined what he believes are inconsistencies in the accuser's account of what happened. Break it down for us.
Yeah, so the major pillars I would say would be location, witnesses, details, and timeline. Location being that this allegedly started off at Radio City, and according to the alleged accuser, she said that she was in the car for 20 minutes before getting to Sean Combs' house where the after party was hosted, to a large white house in a U-shaped driveway. Now, if you're from the New York area and you know where Radio City is, 20 minutes in any direction does not get you to that kind of real estate. And that's what the attorney is pointing out here. Witnesses. The accuser again says that she saw specific people at that after party, but people were saying, no, this person was touring. The witnesses, the alleged accuser's own father says, I don't remember picking her up after a 5-hour drive from Rochester to New York after this night. And then details. She's saying that she watched the show on the Jumbotron, where on the VMAs of that year, there was no Jumbotron, and the timeline as to how this all could have occurred, the attorney is saying it doesn't match up based on where people were at specific times.
I'm curious your thoughts, because Jay-Z's attorney met with select members of the media. It was a closed-door meeting. What do you make of this strategy?
Well, initially, where were we in this closed meeting? That's what my thoughts are, right? But I think it's smart because this is a situation where it's not only in the court of law, but also the court of public opinion. And I think Alex, the attorney, is really pushing back on the court of public opinion to try to help the court of law arguments, because when you look at the timeline, you look at the details, yeah, there are some inconsistencies.
And the accuser has acknowledged some inconsistencies in her story. So how often does something like this happen in a case like this?
When it comes to sexual assault or rape cases where it's he said, she said, because it's so far ago, we're talking about an incident that has allegedly happened September 7th of 2000. It comes down to just the credibility of individuals. And people have issues with memory. It makes sense. I don't remember what I did on September 7th of 2000. But when some of these inconsistencies just go...
People jump to conclusions when someone like me, who doesn't have much, steps forward. They assume it's about money instead of looking at the bigger picture. That negativity can be overwhelming. Growing up in Philadelphia wasn't easy. The city got rougher over time. I've been near dangerous situations, including shootings, though they weren't directed at me. It's just part of the environment, but it shapes you.
Against the idea of just like geography, timeline, a fact that a father didn't even remember this. That's where I think there's some real issues for Tony Busby and the accuser's claims.
It's got to be a big blow for the case.
I would imagine so, but these aren't legal filings. This is just maybe a precursor to that. So we have to see what Alex Spiro ends up filing in court and what the response is from the Tony Busby and the accuser and what the court decides.
When you look at the language from Jay-Z's attorney, it seems they're really trying to distance themselves from Diddy at this point. How important is that relationship between these two men?
It's everything. I mean, when I first thought about this, I thought to myself, what are all the sayings that we have just in our culture about guilt by association, show me who your friends are and I'll show you who you are, birds of a feather flock together. At this point, Sean Combs is toxic from a legal standpoint in terms of his association with all of these civil lawsuits and a federal criminal investigation. So if you're a close friend of his, especially in the period of time when these allegations existed, you're definitely going to be looked at under a microscope. And so what Alex Spiro is doing is saying, hey, yeah, they're close friends, we admit that, it's public knowledge, but that friendship stops when we get to this whole freak-off issues and sexual assault and rapes.
Trying to make that separation. Brian, thank you very much. We appreciate it and good to see you.
My journey to uncover the truth about my father has brought a lot of attention, especially with claims that Jay-Z might be my dad. This isn't just a story about fame. It's deeply personal, about responsibility and the long-term effects of past choices. My mom's life was never the same after everything she went through, and I believe...
Just him, Dame, and Biggs. Nobody say I have a problem with them then. When he took them niggas to the top, them as a team. Cause y'all remember, you gotta be honest. Like Jay-Z when he first started coming out, the first CD, it's a classic and all that, but he wasn't the best rapper. He wasn't the best rapper. He was lyrical, but it wasn't like the best rap. Like it wasn't like, but it was that push and that drive behind him. You know what I mean, because Jay-Z didn't even catch on with his first album, really. You know what I mean? So if a person believes in you and going out there fighting for you in your behalf, they owe it a certain amount of respect, I think. I mean. So like but the thing is that Jay-Z don't want nobody to get money. So like, I ain't like it's not a secret. Look at him, what about a Mill? I heard a Mill was working somewhere, whatever. I'm like, yo, if I say a girl that was a rapper on my label and I got $1 billion, she ain't gotta worry about nothing ever. Period. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, you and the Mill should start.
Huh?
You and the Mill should start. You and the Mill should start a podcast together.
I don't even know her. I mean, I know who she is, but it just popped in my head. There's this fact that she was the Rockefeller, female of Rockefeller, right? She should be rich because she's a reflection of you. Period. Like, I'm over here in this $150,000 million house. She over there struggling. Bro, see, I'm more mindful than that. So they might look at me as I'm a bad person. I talk shit, but I'm mindful. I will never have that. Let that be. Whatever she need, or to get her that, but it will make you feel better. Plus, it'll look good for you doing it. You so much of a Scrooge McDuck, you don't even want to do that. Like, what the fuck? She's a lady. Like, you feel what I'm saying? There's nothing to get her a car and a house and some money every month. Even if you say, somebody will give you some money for 5 years, but like, then after that, or give her a job. It's just, to me, it's like easiest 1, 2, 3. But for everybody else, like, well, he don't got to do this, he don't got to do that. No, you don't got to do it, but like, ain't this the right thing to do? The fuck, like, the fuck it's crazy if you say somebody should do the right thing. People first thing is nobody owe you and you shouldn't do it. That's because society.
Believe no child or parent should have to endure something like this when the truth could be found. As I got older, I started piecing everything together. My mom first told me about my dad when I was around 6, but I didn't fully understand until I was about 10 or 11. That's when she really started sharing details, showing me photos, videos.
Right now, the latest on Jay-Z. The music mogul's attorney fired back at the woman accusing him of sexual assault, raising questions about the events more than 20 years ago. ABC News Live anchor Lindsay Davis here with the story. Good morning, Lindsay.
Hey, good morning to you guys. Jay-Z's attorney is calling it all a sham. He says that some glaring inconsistencies in his accuser's story have come to light, and he claims that they're enough for the case to be dismissed.
Attorneys for rap mogul Jay-Z are doubling down on their defense this morning, calling recent rape allegations a sham.
It's not just that this story is a lie and that it's not true. It's provably, demonstrably false. This never happened.
The recently amended civil lawsuit, originally filed by a Jane Doe in October, identified celebrity A as Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter, claiming at a VMA's after-party in 2000 that he and fellow rapper Sean Diddy Combs drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl at an after-party. Both Carter and Combs have vehemently denied the claims. Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, is now highlighting what he says are inconsistencies in the woman's story. According to the lawsuit, after approximately 20 minutes, plaintiff arrived at what she believed to be a large white residence with a gate U-shaped driveway. Spiro disputes her account.
There is no such location in New York, 20 minutes from Radio City. It does not exist.
Spiro also claims this photo of Jay-Z at a VMA's after-party at the Lotus Club is proof that he was at a different location from where the woman says the rape occurred. The defense says that no witnesses have corroborated her story, most notably her own father, who lived 5 hours away at the time. But the lawsuit claims that after leaving the party, the woman called her father to pick her up and that he arrived shortly before dawn. But NBC News reports that after contacting the accuser's father, he said, "I feel like I would remember that, and I don't."
You drove 10 hours to pick up your 13-year-old daughter in New York City? It's not something you would forget. It's not something that he did forget because this never happened.
Cops wanna knock me, DA wanna box me in, but somehow I beat them charges like Rocky.
The hip-hop heavyweight is already declaring victory in a statement, writing, "True justice is coming," adding, "This was over before it began." But Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, has remained defiant, stating, "As far as the allegations in the complaint filed, we will let the filing speak for itself."
Jay-Z has made it clear that he plans to fight this lawsuit and these allegations until the end. According to his lawyer, Jay-Z is upset that this distracts and dissuades from real victims coming forward. Meanwhile, the attorney for the accuser maintains that she remains adamant about her claim, guys.
All right, Lindsay, thank you for bringing that to us. Appreciate it.
And little clips from back in the day. At one point, I felt lost. I had so many unanswered questions, but I'm lucky to have a strong support system. I also have kids of my own now, and being a good father to them is everything to me. I don't want to lie to them, even when I don't have all the answers myself. Losing my mom gave me even more reason to push forward. I know this is something she wanted, and it drives me.
Tonight, the accuser's law firm telling NBC News that the woman alleging Jay-Z raped her when she was 13 years old is expected to undergo a voluntary polygraph test tomorrow. This after our exclusive interview with the now 38-year-old mother from Alabama found inconsistencies with her account. We agreed to conceal her identity as an alleged sexual assault victim.
What made you finally want to talk about it?
Well, I mean, nobody was going to believe me back then. Like, nobody.
In the wake of our reporting, Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, is pushing a judge to dismiss the accuser's lawsuit.
We expect Mr. Carter to be fully cleared of all of this in the coming days. Almost nothing that she says has checked out because this never happened.
On the night of the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000, the woman says Sean Diddy Combs' limo driver took her to an after party at a White House with a U-shaped driveway. There, the woman says she spoke to musician Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo. That's the Last Supper.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative for the Maddens confirmed that they were on tour in the Midwest at that time and did not attend the 2000 VMAs. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter both raped her. She says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who drove more than 5 hours to pick her up.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not corroborate her story. I feel like I would remember that, and I don't, he said. A representative for Carter told NBC News that Jay-Z never attended a house party after the VMAs. They say he went to a nightclub for several hours, then went to his recording studio in Manhattan. In a follow-up phone interview, we asked her about the contradictions, and she said that she stands by her statements.
This woman is standing by her story. It happened over 20 years ago. Maybe her memory is hazy. Maybe her father doesn't remember that night.
No, she's doubled down on certain of these details. It says, I'm positive no one has come forward about this in nearly a quarter of a century, and that's because this never happened.
A representative for Combs called the suit a shameless money grab.
I haven't asked for a dime from him. Not everything is motivated by money, and I'm sorry that he feels that it is.
The accuser's lawyer says his client remains adamant about her claim, that she signed 2 affidavits, and that he's waiting for the results of tomorrow's polygraph.
To keep fighting. Along the way, I've found ways to ground myself, spending time with family, going camping, and fishing with my son. These moments remind me of what really matters and keep me in a good place. At the heart of it, I just want the truth. It's not about money or fame. It's about understanding where I come from and finding clarity for myself and my family. As a kid, I heard bits and pieces about the situation, but I didn't fully understand it. Sometimes I wanted to know more, but other times...
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was sexually assaulted by both men at a Video Music Awards after party in 2000. In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree?" He added, "My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people." Joining us now, Joey Jackson, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. There's a lot to unpack here. Joey, I want to start with just the statement from Jay-Z, which is so forceful in its denial. I just read a teeny part of it. It's long, where he says that they should file a criminal complaint. Is that even possible at this point?
So based on the allegations, Jessica, good morning, good to see you. I think that it certainly could be. Why do I say that? Now, he, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement. Yeah. He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? Because rape in New York, and what's alleged in this complaint, is forcible compulsion. What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down, raped her, and that, of course, the allegation is that Mr. Combs did the same thing. And so if those facts are actually accurate, it would require an investigation by prosecutors. And if true, right, you could pursue it criminally. Now, with respect to evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right, more than 24 years ago. But in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right, in addition to other people. Number two, there's the claim by the victim, right, that she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant who saw her in distress. Number three, that she phone called her dad, who showed up, the 13-year-old, and now removed her. So civil complaint, simply allegations, needs to be proven in a court of law, but if true, it could rise to the level of criminality, and, you know, we'll see what happens, or if the DA looks and investigates.
So what happens now?
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint, and in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal.
It felt overwhelming, so I tried to block it out and just focus on being a kid. Over time, though, as I grew older, I started feeling like I should at least try to connect with my father. I wanted to have some kind of relationship, or at the very least, say that I tried. My mom even signed a letter on my behalf to reach out. At first, things seemed promising. They were cooperative, but then communication stopped, and everything turned into a legal battle.
This 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact-finding, right? Before that, just briefly, there was a demand letter sent. And a demand letter is a letter being sent by a lawyer saying, hey, I don't have to sue you. We can sit, we can mediate it. If we reach an agreement, it never sees the light of day. Jay-Z saying, I don't care about your demand letter. I look at it as blackmail. You want to sue me, sue me. You want to look at it criminally, look at it criminally. But it'll go through the fact-finding process. If a trial is necessary to determine the facts, that's what will happen. But it'll be deemed civil. No indication at this point as to whether or not any criminal investigation will ensue as a result of this.
Yeah, and Jay-Z came back incredibly forcefully against these allegations and really singled out that attorney as well for being, I'm paraphrasing here, but greedy, saying he's out to get money, and calling that letter essentially blackmail.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Jessica, also suing the attorney, saying he's intimidating him, harassing him, etc. Now, demand letters are not new. What lawyers do is they send them out as a matter of protocol and practice so that you can expedite the process. At the same time, there's certain ethical standards that you have to use, and you have to have a good faith factual belief that this is true. Now, you can argue this complaint was filed in October, right? Could have mentioned Jay-Z then. You didn't. Why? It was amended now to include him. Are the factual assertions true? Are they fact or fiction? Is it a money grab or not? All of that will be litigated in a court of law, but according to Jay-Z, this never happened, is pure fiction. It is a money grab, and he's fighting for his name, reputation, and certainly innocence and justice in his view, which is he didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and you touched on a point, too, that I wanted to ask you about, which was that this was an amendment to this already existing lawsuit. What are people to take away from that, the fact that they're coming back and adding to this now with this specific name?
Yeah, you know, Jessica, so it depends. That's also common. You could amend lawsuits, right, as a matter of course, and you do, to include certain factual allegations. The interesting thing to me, in terms of your question and the takeaway, if you had this information about Jay-Z, it happened allegedly in September of 2000, why not include it in the original complaint? What happened between October and now that necessitated you putting in, and it's a question of credibility. Was he celebrity A, right, as was noted in the October complaint? Is this pure fiction? And what's interesting in the complaint is he really, that is the lawyer, tries to tie Jay-Z to Mr. Combs in so many ways, right? Birds of a feather is the argument that he's making. You can make that argument. You need the facts to sustain it. Let's see if they come up with any facts.
All right, we will see. All right, Joey.
From what my mom told me, she met Jay-Z at a show she attended with a friend. After the performance, they stayed for autographs and to meet him. He wasn't as famous back then, so it was more casual. My mom and her friend ended up talking to him, and eventually, they went to an apartment together. My mom said they partied, talked, and later became intimate. The
other freedom I see in the album is just a freedom for couples who have gone through something.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. You know, it's almost a cliche, you know, the celebrity couple, you know, they get together, they break up, you know, I'm like, well, who else are they going to go out with? But for some reason, you took an unprecedented stand to fight for this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to fight for it and to put it all out there. What is it about this marriage that's so special that you would fight this hard to save it?
Well, it's my soulmate. It's the person I love, you know. And you can be in love with someone. You can love someone and And if you haven't experienced love and you don't understand it and you don't have the tools to move forward, then you're going to have complications, period. And if you can either address it or you can pretend until it blows up at some point. And, you know, for us, we chose to fight for our love, for our family, to give our kids a different outcome. You see, you know, to break that cycle. For black men and women, you know, to see a different outcome. Like you were saying, it's not this celebrity couple. We were never a celebrity couple. We were a couple who just happened to be celebrities.
That's beautiful.
Like real people.
Yeah. What advice would you have for men who have caused pain in marriages? I mean, it's easy. I mean, somebody like you. I mean,
that's you know, in our case,
that's a level of strength really on both sides. I mean, if the shoe had been on the other foot, you know, if the transgressions had been on her side, do you think you would be able to be as forgiving of her as she was of you?
I hope. Again, because I love her the same way. No matter what side, I love her the same way. I pray that I will, because her strength and her, you know, man, is the strongest woman I know. Like her and my mother, they battling for number one.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I just want to say to you, you are blazing a trail, you know, for a lot of us to follow. You know, financially, culturally, you know, the idea of confession could save so much pain and suffering in politics and every place else. I honor you. You know, one of the guys said, you know, just make sure to ask him before he leaves, you know, is he in the Illuminati? And I said, no, I'm not going to ask that, but are you?
I'm in the new Illuminati.
That's good. Let's give it up for Sean J. Carter.
Young and believed what she experienced, and I believe her, too. No one has ever come forward to challenge my mom's story or call her a liar. If there were doubts, this could have been settled with a conversation. But instead, it's been years of silence and legal pushback. I don't hate anyone or want to see anyone fail.
Year-old girl back in 2000. The lawsuit was originally filed against Sean Diddy Combs back in October, then refiled on Sunday to add Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter. The plaintiff, identified as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men at a Video Music Awards after party. The artists have denied those accusations. Now, in a statement through his company, Rock Nation, Jay-Z responded to the lawsuit and the lawyer representing the plaintiff, saying, quote, "My lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir, it had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud that you are," his words, in a very public fashion. "So no, I will not give you one red penny," end quote. Now, the lawyer, Busby, did not immediately respond for comment on this, but has refuted Carter's accusations of blackmail on social media. Meanwhile, Sean P. Diddy Combs is still in custody in New York, awaiting his trial on federal sex trafficking charges. He tried to secure bail, but was denied several times. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson joins us now to go over this lawsuit. Welcome, Jessica. A lot to talk about here. What can you tell us about the timing of Jay-Z's allegations, since he wasn't named in that initial lawsuit filing?
That's right. Well, we don't know for sure, but in hearing Jay-Z's response, I think one possible scenario is that the attorneys came to him and said, "We'd like X amount of money, and if you don't give it, then we are going to name you in a civil suit." Now, again, we're reading tea leaves here, but it would be reasonable to think that there was some discussions, let's say, behind the scenes. And sometimes what happens is that a celebrity feels like the accusations alone are so harmful that it's worth it for them to say, okay, here's this pot of money. Sometimes they feel like saying, giving over the money and having that potentially be reported will look like they're admitting guilt. Here, what we have is Jay-Z being extremely unequivocal in saying, not me, not it, no way, no how. And in fact, I think we might see a situation where Jay-Z and his attorneys might go after the attorney who filed the case, potentially asking for sanctions, potentially saying that this is a frivolous suit and or that there was no good faith basis to add Jay-Z to this complaint.
Now, given that this is a civil lawsuit, Jessica, what are your thoughts on the plaintiff still going under the name Jane Doe in this lawsuit? If she wants this to continue forward, will we eventually learn her name?
It depends, but there are lots of public policy reasons why when it comes to a suit like this, when it comes to allegations of sexual assault that were...
I just want the truth. After my mom passed in 2019, I felt even more driven to get answers. Her affidavit described how the pregnancy happened and detailed their brief encounter. She explained that they had used protection, but it broke. At the time, Jay-Z was 22 and starting his career, while my mom was still in high school.
That we say that you can remain anonymous. Now, again, I wish I could give you a specific answer, but in part, it depends on how far this case goes, whether or not we might hear testimony. But I think it is important for people to know that the law does provide protection many times for people filing these types of suits, particularly, again, against very powerful celebrities, because regardless of what you think of this specific case, you can understand there are reasons why we would want to protect people's privacy when it comes to these types of cases.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned this earlier in your first answer, but just to remind our viewers, Jay-Z filed a lawsuit against the attorney representing the plaintiff. What does his lawsuit allege?
Essentially that this is a frivolous case, that it amounts to extortion, and this is the most forceful way that you can respond to this type of allegation, meaning not just Jay-Z isn't just saying, I am not liable. It's not guilt, it's liability because it's a civil suit. But he's saying, I am the victim of a shakedown and I want to vindicate my rights. And what you can see in these situations is sometimes an attorney could be held in contempt for filing a case or for adding a particular party. Sometimes these are pretty extraordinary circumstances. You can see an attorney that's actually reported to the state bar where they work. But this is part of, I think, the lawsuit, obviously, that Jay-Z filed. It's a lawsuit in and of itself, but it's also the most forceful response you can possibly give.
Any chance that this could turn into a criminal case, given that it happened in 2000?
I don't think so based on the statute of limitations. The suit was filed in, obviously, it's a civil case in federal court under a New York law that provides a so-called look back, meaning that the statute of limitations, there's an exception and it opens up for specific types of allegations for a specific window of time. We saw this in the case that E. Jean Carroll brought against President Trump. There was a look back provision in one of those cases. Similar thing here.
All right, CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. Thanks so much, Jessica.